Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
That's the wrong shot. Okay. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I think I can speak for my co-host here, whom I will introduce in a minute, where I can say, we promise we no tariffs ever on this podcast. None. Take it to the bank. Anyway, I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nurse Need on Twitter. You can find me at Roddykat on Blue Sky. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings.
Is Brooklyn in the house? Without a doubt.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Indeed. And you can also find us on the Kliqsoftheweek Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Kliqsoftheweek Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
You heard. Rest in peace to DMX. Apparently his the anniversary of his passing was just, or his birthday, one of the two, I think, just happened recently. But you know, salute. But we have reached a milestone in this here Comic Book Chronicles, because guess what, folks? This here podcast, the Comic Book Chronicles, is now Marvel Canon, because it's episode 616.
Oh, look at that. That's crazy, son.
Yeah, I really, really wish I could have had something done for this, or if I had the skills to do something myself for this, because that would have been perfect. Like, yeah, 500 is great and all, but you know, 616 for a comic book podcast, that's just gold right there.
That's crazy, son. Look at that, man. Look at that.
Did you get the popcorn?
Imagine if we made it to either 1492 or 1702.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I don't want to think that far ahead. That's crazy.
You can only hope. You can only hope. Oh, and at the end of the day,
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Amen, brother. But right now we are going to get into a spoiler-free discussion on this week's Daredevil Born Again, which, boy, Matt, you just fucking up.
Things get a little unhinged this week on Daredevil.
Little bit. But yes, Daredevil Born Again season 1 episode 8 or season 4, whichever you choose, which is called Isle of Joy. And I can safely say that somebody had no, well, the joy was one-sided, absolutely, because somebody at the end of the episode, somebody has a complete lack of joy.
So there, believe it or not, there are several kind of plot lines that are serviced during this episode, several of them. And you know, it's hard to talk about this episode because this is now the penultimate episode for this season of Daredevil Born Again. Basically, it's this it's the 8th episode of 9, and we have basically, one more story left to kind of set up for the second half of this Daredevil Born Again season, which is, technically season 2. But ultimately what we have is some confirmation of a couple things. One is that Vanessa and Wilson are kind of working their way towards being on the same page, much more so in this episode than they ever have been during the course of this season. And now that Vanessa and the Kingpin are much more simpatico and much more aligned in their goals and their aims, we start to see how they might become a pretty formidable tag team back again, taking on Daredevil, who is to this point still kind of a solo act. I wanted to say one thing specifically about Heather Glenn. I was actively rooting for her to die during this episode because actively rooting. No shots. All the shots fired fired at Heather Glenn because she's like, yo, Daredevil didn't save me. I saved myself. Who do you think gave you time to get off these shots? Who gave you time to get off these shots, Heather Glenn? Really? For real? Who gave you that time? I saved myself. Get out of here with this stuff, man.
Mind you, she's a trained psychiatrist.
I saved myself.
So I put that on the writers.
Emotional damage.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I would like to think I put that on the writers and not her, but at the same time, you're seeing things through the eyes of the character, so therefore that's kind of the lens you have to put it in, take it in. So I didn't want to go that far with it, but I do understand.
Actively rooting for her to get killed.
I'm not gonna say I was actively rooting for her to get killed, but I was like, whoa, back way up. Like, I understand you're going through some stuff, but ma'am. You were kind of out of it. Also, you lost lack of blood and everything and whatever. But ma'am, that's taking it a whole ways.
Just saying. But there are a couple things that happen here. Obviously, Matt Murdock loses his cool under pressure a little bit here, and contributes to some of the things that happens. Some of the things that eventually happened to him during this episode.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why I said my statement from earlier.
Right. And I'll let you pick up that particular several of these particular threads. I wanted to get off that hot take against Heather Glenn and move on from there because that kind of colored my my view on this entire episode. Like actively, hoping that Bullseye would, point the sniper rifle in that direction. But no, it's kind of funny to see how, it's the penultimate episode for this, let's say, season of television. And we have now put a bullet into our lead character. Is he going to heal miraculously in the next episode? Is there going to be a time jump in the next episode? Is there going to be a through and through wound here that we're going to explain away? I don't know. We'll see. And with that, I'm going to reiterate,
we are doing spoiler-free reviews, so just take that for whatever. That's all I'm saying. But so I was going to say first off to about that Heather point. I'm about to say if somehow, some way it wraps back into her in the comics, she may be out of here at some point. But looking at IMDb doesn't seem to be the case.
Right.
So if you
Heather
go by
Glenn
that,
character in the comics is vastly different from this character. This is very much a name only, a similarity in name only, really.
Right.
So it's definitely this character is definitely a concoction of the writers and the writing staff. So we'll see what direction they choose to take the character in.
Right. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be looking at Twitter because I just saw something on a clip from Daredevil that kind of made me giggle. But I will say, and pardon me for this, and no disrespect to the actress who played her. She was kind of looking good in that dress. But that aside, so ultimately in this show or in this episode, we see the two main characters still on the sliding on the scale of, some would argue, injustice, because one character's relationship is going up and the other character's relationship is going completely down. And we see that slide during the course of this. We see that more prominently in the course of this episode. If anything we have just said, didn't give you that impression. So is it? In fact, I thought things were pretty much going to be over, because there was at one point it was like, oh, dang! I thought Matt was just going to turn around and she was just going to be gone because of what he was doing.
Right.
But that's the main thing of that. And yes, going back to something else that Agent 70 said, yeah, Matt, it was slipping way hard because he did a thing that he knew better to do, but the person who asked him to come to do the thing seemingly wanted that to be the case, because they knew that what was going to happen. And the only thing I can say is, it is this lesson for Matt is, the lesson in this episode for Matt seems to be that karma comes back at you hard.
Right.
That could be one lesson that could be taken away from this. So yeah, it wasn't, well, I'm not gonna sit here and say it wasn't funny. This episode was funny, but there was a couple of amusing parts in it. One that I just this is a live recording, so there was something I just retweeted on my Twitter account that I'm sure Agent 70 would see if he went over there. But for those, maybe I'll put it in the clickbait section, or you'll see it, because somebody made a comment about the show that kind of made me giggle about something I also had I thought about. Outside of that, though, we see people trying to help and intervene with Matt, and Matt's not trying to hear it, which, sure, he's spiraling, continuing to spiral, so he's not hearing nobody or anything, and continuing to forget the fact that, hey, we know that everybody else thinks you're blind.
Right.
And continuously to do things that are making people. It's the Stevie Wonder theory. Some people that think that Stevie Wonder's not actually blind, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But hey, maybe he is Daredevil in disguise. We don't know, but I think at this point, I figure like we can safely say, if it has, we ain't seen none of that yet. Either way, without going too much farther into the show, it's just going into the last episode next week. There is a definite, like Agent 70 said, like, hey, what's going to happen and after what happened at the end of this episode?
Right.
And I know I've seen, and on a side point, I have seen some people talking about the lack of actual Daredevil in the Daredevil show, to which,
listen, it's not something that you can't help but notice it,
right?
Because there's been very little Daredevil throughout these first 8 going on 9 episodes, but we'll see if he comes back in episode 9. It wouldn't be the worst the first time that Daredevil goes into battle bit dinged up. So
right, and which brings me to this, because what little of Daredevil in costume that we have seen, honestly, I would have thought would have come next episode. Like, I figured at this point, it seemed like, okay, well, he's just going to be out of costume this whole time and still kind of doing whatever else like he's been doing, but we won't see the costume until, until like the last moment of this next issue. And turns out that was not the case. And it still could happen, but I figured like if they were going to do it for some dramatic effect, it would have been there,
Sure.
But that didn't happen, so we don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, or at the end of this part of the season, or this season, quote unquote. Because it is a weird thing. Like, it's basically a season broken up into two, but so it's still technically season one, excuse me. But the way we found out they broke it up, it should have been one season.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. But that being the case, I don't know unless you got something else on it, we can move on. It was an interesting. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There is one other thing. So there is some other movements that were going on, like Agent 70 said earlier. There's a couple of I don't want to say minor characters, but some other characters kind of moving into a certain position. One of which might, let's hope not, ends up being like a family relation of theirs from season one. Hopefully not. There's one character also that's, I don't know. I don't like this character. He's a young dude. I'm not crazy about him, but he's also, I don't want to use the words failing up because he's only
He's
really
absolutely failing up.
right. But it's kind of that.
He's being socially promoted,
and he's feeling himself on that and being much more of a, like, you, weirdly enough, if you know whose son he is, you can kind of hear and see it right then and there in that scene. So I was like, all right, I really continuously hope something happens to that character. If there is anything I'm wishing something for, but sadly it's not happening yet. Anyway, that is Daredevil Born Again, episode 8. We'll be back next week for the end of the season. Talk about that and how we feel about the season as a whole. But we are going to go into the comic books of the week, starting off with Transformers number 19.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
So actually, I could have sworn I had. Right, I was about to say, like, a little bit more appropriately. So Transformers number 19, published by Image. It's written by Daniel Warren Johnson, with art by, and forgive me for probably butchering this name, Ludo Lullaby, because I cannot fathom that it's actually pronounced lullaby.
I know, I've been thinking about that, but also I kind of want to call it Ludo.
Oh, Cadillac Grills. All right. Colors are by Adriano Lucas, and letters are by Russ Wooton. Now, if you are a fan of the Cold Slither podcast, the OG Cold Slither podcast, a classic, eclectic, and our very own at TimDog98 often employed a couple of sound drops that evoked characters who are prominent in this issue. It's not a spoiler alert because it's right there on the cover. They were wont to feed things to the Sharktacons in the Sharktacon pit. And those characters as a whole, right, that group of characters play a prominent role in this episode because this is a in this issue because this is a Megatron centric issue that is kind of a walk down memory lane to kind of go over some of the quite literally trials that Megatron goes through in order to that he has to survive in order to get to where he is now. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a very fun reference to Transformers the movie. It's also, just a cool visual to see the Sharkticons, and the swarm that they make up. And you get to see Megatron in his multiple forms. One of them, Roddykat and I are not fans of, but we just have to admit that, they make do. That's how Megatron can propel himself in certain forms. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, it's a very Megatron-centered issue. If you're in the least bit curious as to how we've gotten to this point with Megatron, and you're looking for more of his backstory, then this issue is going to fill that particular need of yours. And with that, I hand it to Roddykat.
For the most part, yes, that is absolutely true. There is a small part that was doled out early on back in, was it Cobra Commander's miniseries, of where he ended up presently before he once again got free.
Right.
And charging into where we see him now. I think that was it. Yeah, I want to say it was Cobra Commander, Cobra Commander's miniseries, but that's the only other little piece. Like this, for the most part, for what people will mostly care for, and will care about. Yeah, this is the majority of it. And yeah, so spoiler alert: they made Megatron a triple changer, of which I would good luck in them trying to get figure out that figure. I mean, I'm pretty sure they could, and they will, if they do decide to do it. And speaking of new figures, there's a potential another one that could be in this issue for a character that I don't think we've ever seen before in the Transformers universe. That shows up here. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, Megatron's going through his trials. We do find out that apparently there is another matrix of leadership. There's the anti-matrix of leadership, and it has an alternate function as well. That I don't want to say that ends up, at least the way they presented in this issue, maybe a treatise on gun control. But not really, because it's just like, wait, so this is supposed to be a gun control message? Is what they're saying at the end of this? But probably not. Or maybe it is. I don't know. You'd have to ask Daniel Warren Johnson. Who the hell knows? But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of everything. And I'm like, I enjoyed it for the most part. It is actually a potential click of the week for me. It kind of gets dinged because damn, we just get reminded of that alternate transformation of his that I'm still not cool with. But being of a certain vintage is going to happen. So, it is what it is. You got anything else? That's it?
Nope, that's it. We can move on. Like
Next.
President Bartlett would say.
What's next?
We've heard a lot of President Bartlett tonight, honestly, folks. But that is some behind the scenes business there. Amazing Spider-Man #1, and boy, are there a lot of variant covers. We're back in 1964, folks.
Oh my goodness. Amazing Spider-Man #1. So there are two stories told in this issue. The first story is written by Joe Kelly, with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, BC's Joe Caramagna. The second story is written by Joe Kelly, with art by John Romita Jr., inks by Scott Hanna, colors by Marcio Meniz, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we open the story with, the old Parker luck. And, this isn't the first time we've gone through this particular setup, with Pete going on various job interviews and having to account for some of the really wacky turns that his life has undergone over the last, at least in our real time, over the last like 10 years, right? Some really wacky turns. In comic book time, it's probably a lot, it's a lot shorter span, which makes it even crazier.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, he has to account for that in his job hunt. And one of the funniest parts is that he ends up getting hired, or at least getting an offer from a firm that is familiar to us readers, but not for the reason. Well, what's the reason for this particular offer is that there was an inside. There was a character or a person inside the firm who gave an internal recommendation, but it's not who you think it is. It's not who you think. And, it serves to expand upon Parker's life story a bit. But the superheroing of it all is a pretty interesting take on things happening, things being afoot in the Marvel universe. And what's funny is that there are some parallels between this and this week's Daredevil as well.
Oh, interesting.
And it's no crossover, no like actual crossover, I don't think, but an interesting parallel.
Right. I gotcha. So as I'm flipping through these covers here, I'm saving one special one for last for a reason. But yeah, so I'm seeing the typos. So there's going to be an article that we're going to talk about later on in the news section, and I'm just going to say this right here, right now. Well, two things actually. I actually didn't read past the letters page until Agent 70 just mentioned that there was two stories.
Oh no!
So oh damn, I totally missed that joke. But I just read it, so I was like, oh, okay. I was wondering where that one variant cover was coming from. Regardless, there is a reference to a company that Peter goes to interview for called Bulma Tech. Now, those of you anime-loving folks might know that name from a little thing called Dragon Ball. And I'm sitting here like, well, why don't you just go ahead and make it a capsule core? Just call it, and just go ahead and call it out. But that was really, really funny to see that. Also, going back to the point of the article that we're mentioning later, there is a mention from Spidey on his top strength, basically. Not necessarily in actual weight,
right,
but in what he's doing at the time. And I would like to remind you and remind folks and let folks know about a little thing called the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, which gave a pretty, at the time, definite, power rating / and amount of tonnage that Spidey could lift, which realistically probably could approximate close to what he was lifting there. I'm not, I don't know, but the article later on, just keep that in mind for the article later on as to how it sounds. Actually, I might even take it out of there, but we'll see. But but back to the actual story. I don't know if this person that Spidey knows inside this company is someone we've seen before. I'm assuming this is a new person that we're meeting. Whoever it is, Aunt May don't like his ass that much. And we kind of get a sense as to why as he and Peter Tarkin. But also in the part of the story, we seem to get shades of another Spidey foe. Actually, I guess if that last page is to be, this is a bunch, but I think that might be more hallucinogenic than actual. But it seems like there is another of Spidey's longtime villains behind the mystery that Spidey, dips his nose into, thanks to thanks to the reentruance of another longtime foe,
Right.
for a reason, who had been kind of on the straightish, narrowish as of late. So, but we shall see, you know. And that Park Lurk is hell. that's the best thing you could say about that, because that whole first part of the issue was also amusing. Just like, oh yeah, I almost forgot about this. This happened and that happened, and what people were bringing up also.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, it was very much a way for us to recap what's been going on in this poor guy's life over the course of several runs of Amazing Spider-Man, several volumes of Amazing Spider-Man.
Right. As I say in my note, the Parker Lurk's been following his ass throughout history.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
But we're going to go into our next book and our last book that we have in common. But I can't do that before if people watching the video version can see Greg Land cover. Greg Land cover.
Why? Ooh, I'm dying! Ooh, I'm dying again!
This one's actually not terrible though. I mean, you know, it's not like, you know, it's just Spidey. For those not watching the video version, it's just Spidey, you know, some webs, and he's swinging towards the camera. You know, how bad? I was gonna say, how can anyone mess that up? Well, we've seen that people have in the past, but you know, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Not.
You chose poorly.
And the last book that we have in common is, actually, wait, was there a oh, I'm surprised there wasn't. I was gonna say if there was one of those Oh Hot Move connecting covers for Spidey, but I guess not. But Ultimates number 11 is our last book that we have in common.
All right, just one moment. Because I wanted to speak specifically to this book.
Okay.
And one of the things that that the art team, that the art team and obviously the writing team, the writer on this decided to kind of evoke. Ultimates number 11 is written by Dennis Camp, with art by Juan Frigeri, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So specifically, I wanted to address the storytelling in this issue, because each page is basically a one-panel story, right? Very much like an illustration in a prose book, right? But this is full page illustration. I wouldn't say it's a splash page per se, but you could also say that that other comics have done similar things with basically each page being a splash page with the text carrying the story. One of the things that Dennis Camp puts in is that this is basically told in verse, and things are I don't know. I've never been a big poetry fan other than than rap, but I don't have I'm not very well versed, no pun intended. I'm not well versed in the history of verse and in the structure of verse. And so seeing this and reading it, it's a creative way of doing it. So I wanted to speak to that specifically. What I liked about this is that Thor has been kind of a missing character for a lot of this Ultimates run, but it's nice to see Thor and Lady Sif and the Asgardians get some shine in this Ultimates book in this issue, and we get to see some alternate takes of how these characters react and interact with some of the characters who have been classic villains in Norse mythology and in the Marvel comics. So this is very much a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me.
Interesting.
And I put it off to Roddykat.
Interesting. Ultimates is usually a great book, and I'm not saying that this one is not. So, but the same things that Agent 70 just mentioned ended up being an issue for me, and no pun intended, because issue of book, but because yes, the whole thing is done in. Some would say it's done as a ballad. Could be. I mean, I'm a little far from being versed from it myself, also because I mean I've had some study of it, but not to the point of just remembering every little thing. But I was like, I figured this was gonna start off like it does, and it's gonna go through the whole rhyming scheme and the balladry and whatnot, and just stop at a point, and it did not. And this is just a personal thing for me, with the lettering the way it was, and I was reading on the computer, and I didn't have my glasses on at the time, but that's probably another thing. But I was like, all the small lettering, and it continued to, like, he's just gonna keep going with this whole with the poetry and the balladry, balladry. And I was like, okay, this is starting to get a little bit much for me. So I was like, but I'm gonna make it through it because I'm a trooper. But it was like, okay, at some point this is just. I appreciate that I appreciate it being done and why it was being done, and the fact that it was centered, the story was centered around Thor and Sif just made a whole lot of sense. But it was like, all right, this is starting to drag on to just a little bit. Just a little bit. So, but I made it through. So, and I forgot what else I was going to say. What is in my notes? So yeah, so we get to see what Thor and Sif kind of got into for a length of time, in things in Asgard kind of looking kind of bleak, thanks to a certain family ruling. If you're watching the video version, you can see who's on the cover, so it's not that much of a spoiler. And hell, if you know two things about Thor, you at least know who's his direct family member, or his family members are. So, and we find Thor and Sif trying to make some things happen in the 9 realms. Well, and I guess technically the 8 realms, because but regardless, until we get to the last page and we see what another character who's been kind of out of action has been seeing, which I guess goes back to a couple of issues ago, or was it last issue, or maybe like 2 issues ago or something like that, where
what's that?
The last page stuff.
Couple of issues.
That's what I thought. So we kind of get back to that, and what's the rest of the teams, what's going on with the rest of the team, basically.
Right.
Without giving anything away. And apparently there is also, before we get to that point, we also see something with Thor that's one feels like real world sentiment, because there was, in reading this was like, what, so part of this kind of feels like, hey, there could be some real world parallels into what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah. There's definitely some parallels here.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, I get that. And there was the other thing that kind of kept me on board, because like, okay, some of the things that's been saying by some of the people they come across, and this and then the other, and what they're trying to do, and it's like, all right, yeah, I see what's going on here. But it was still kind of hard to read for reasons. But like I said, it was still kind of down with what there was, and even the last sentiment before it kicks into what do we find out into what the rest of the team's up to, kind of felt like that recently. Like, yeah, I get that, Thor. I get it. So, That being said, we'll see what is next for the Ultimate in the next issue. But for right now, hey, things ain't looking too good on one part. Or or we're seeing a future or past thing. We don't, we as the last panel says, we need some explanation.
Yeah.
So that being said, that is the books that we have in common. We're going to go into rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
First up for me is Absolute Batman #7. It's written by Scott Snyder, with art by Marcos Martin, or Martin. Colors by Montza Vicenti, and letters are by Clayton Cowles. So one of the interesting things that Snyder decided to do early on in this Absolute Batman run, now that we are 7 issues in, is let some of Bruce's crime alley cohort, right? Some of the people that he grew up with, let them in on some of what he's up to, right? And we also get the introduction in this issue of an alternate version, the absolute ultimate version of Mr. Freeze, right? That's not that big a spoiler because when you look at the cover, you get lots of ice and snow. It's kind of implied that you're getting a version of Victor Freeze. So this is definitely a good issue because it's now picking up where that first kind of big arc, that 6-issue arc, ended, and moving into slightly familiar territory, but at the same time with the absolute twist being put to the story. I don't know if this is a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me, but I think it was a pretty good read. Next up is Daredevil #20. It's written by Saladin Ahmed, with pencils by Jose Luis Suarez, with inks by Oren Jr., colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. If you are not familiar with the Daredevil comics, there's one thing you have to understand, and they try to get this across in the Daredevil television show, formerly on Netflix, now on Disney Plus, is that Matt Murdock is a slut, like a male slut, like for real. He's always getting, like Tupac once said, he gets around, right? So at the end of the day, well, no, I don't want to even say at the end of the day because I don't want to jump to I don't want to make it seem like I'm jumping to the end of this book. This book starts with, kind of the reintroduction of a character. And like I said, Matt Murdock being the slut that he is, going to get busy, but still has Elektra on the brain. Always going to have Elektra on the brain. I got to give Saladin Ahmed and this penciler who I'm unfamiliar with, Jose Luis Suarez, credit for giving me the heebie-jeebies during this issue. Because when I read this issue, I was like, ooh, heebie-jeebies, right? Not a gross out thing, but the heebie-jeebies. I'm even getting the heebie-jeebies now, just thinking about it, not even looking at it. So I'll give them a lot of credit for this. Again, this is like a weird call. Like, I'm not sure if this is a clear candidate for Kliq of the Week for me, but it was really good. Next up is Phoenix #10. It's written by Stephanie Phillips, with art by Alessandro Miracolo, colors by David Curiel, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Interestingly, we wrap up this storyline with Pericus and the Dark Gods and Phoenix, kind of overcoming the odds in this and kind of coming into her own as a cosmic hero. I think I'm going to have to reread like some of these issues to really get the full breadth of what I was supposed to get out of it, because I'm still having a little bit of trouble kind of figuring out, I guess at the end of the day, Stephanie Phillips is trying to establish Phoenix as like a pillar character of the cosmic Marvel universe. So, we'll see if she's done that. It's 10 issues now, so we'll see if she's established that. I may have to just reread some of the stuff. Next up is Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider number 12, also written by Stephanie Phillips, with art by Vaughn Randall, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. The previous issue number 11, had a big twist in it and a big reveal, and we now understand far better why Gwen is in the 616 universe, why she is under the direction of the TVA acting in a certain way. But now we're getting like a full kind of crossover into TVA land, kind of MCUification of some of this story. So, it's kind of interesting. And believe it or not, at the end of this issue, now we are getting a crossover with the Phoenix, the other Stephanie Phillips authored book. So we'll see how that affects the Spider-Gwen book going forward. Next up is Storm number 7. It's written by Murewa Ayodele, with art by Luciano Vecchio, colors by Alex Guinares and Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. Now, Roddykat, did you read this book?
No,
Right?
not yet.
You're behind though on it, right? Or is it just this issue that you need to read?
Still behind on it, yeah, because of X-Men Hunt.
Got it. So I'll tell everyone what I told Roddykat. No spoilers here. But this is a pretty uneven issue, and I found myself having a little trouble getting a handle on where we were going with this, with this story. I'm still kind of struggling with, the whole, eternity vessel, or being a messenger, or whatever. I don't, you hate to call her a herald, but at the end of the day, we'll see how all this stuff starts to pan out. I think we're still in the middle of the story, so we're not meant to completely understand what's going on just yet. All right, let's see. Oh, I have one more book. That being Uncanny X-Men number 13, is written by Gail Simone, with art by David Marquez, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. What started last issue, and I think Roddykat's a little behind, right? Because of the X-Men Hunt stuff?
Yep, same reason.
So what started last issue continues in this issue, in that there is some exploration of the history of this Haven house that this group of X-Men is calling home right now in Louisiana, right? Like, we kind of crash landed in this area, at this home, and we're getting snippets of the origins of why Gambit is familiar with this. Obviously he's a Cajun, but with this area of Louisiana, and we're starting to get some of the story. We're getting more of the story filled in, and the last two issues, this issue and the one right before, help to fill in some of the gaps. And I will say that it's interesting that. And I'm trying to figure out. Oh, the Outliers. That's the nickname of this new kind of younger mutant group that they're teaching. So the Outliers are off on their own, and the the splash page, does a well. Let's just say that the Outliers story is kind of a fun exploration of their team dynamic and their characterization. And overall, Gambit serves as a good narrator for the story. And I'll leave it at that. That's it for me. There's only so much I can say with Roddykat not having read this particular issue. And, we're keeping it light on the spoilers. So that's it for me.
All right. Well, one, I'm going to apologize for anyone who might be may be watching live, and if for some reason this show comes to an abrupt end, it is storming kind of bad outside. You may or may not be able to hear it behind me. So, but we should be all right. For myself, we are going to start with a book from last week, which is, if I put it in the right place, so this will be great. I did not put it. Yes, I did. Gotcha Man, number 8. Written by Colin Bunn, pencils by Chris Batista, inks by Sabrina Cintron, colors by Carlos Lopez, and letters by Buddy Bedoin. I hope that's how you pronounce that. That's how that name is pronounced.
Right, it often is. I wanted to just hold that thought. I wanted to throw in, I do have a little bit of show and tell, not Toy Corner related to Gotcha Man, but a little bit of show and tell at the end. So just carry on.
Okay. So yeah, the team still basically. So last issue, the team was called out because there was basically Galacto's version of Mothra terrorizing a city with a poison cloud that makes people go crazy. If you think something similar to near the end of Transformers season 3. And when Optimus Prime came back, something similar to that. And unfortunately, it ended up affecting one of the team members. So the team is split up in basically kind of 3 parts, where Ryu is in the Phoenix trying to deal with the monster. The monster. The rest of the team, minus Ken and Joe, which would be June and Junpei, are trying to run crowd control for people that are running amok. And Ken and Joe are squaring off against each other because Ken got infected by the rage cloud. And this is the continuation of that and how things get dealt with. And on the other side of it, we see the B team and C teams kind of watching this from the sideline, and wanting them to be out there. But there is that new trainer who's like, hey, y'all ain't ready for that. And also you need to be training. And let's just say that something that came up also last issue because of a thing called it. And that's all I'll say about that. Because something didn't seem right in the water, and sure enough, it absolutely was not right in the water. Next up, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Jinx #1, one shot. This is another one of those silent mission, celebrating books, written by Danny and Dan Waters, with art by Danny, not Moonstar, but it's spelled the same, and colors by Brad Simpson. And of course, there are no letters because it's a silent interlude. Come on, folks, we've been through this last week. But this one is focused on Jinx. Is if you remember the movie, was that from the movie? I guess the Roughnecks did come in with the movie, didn't they? And you should remember this phrase, which is not said because nothing's said in this issue. As my blind ninja master used to say, the keenest eye is that which looks inward. But it has nothing to do with nothing. I just like bringing it up every time I hear Jinx. But so Jinx is on a mission, and she's also up against the clock. and she's also up against the Crimson Guard. But also the way this book presents things, either she's really fast or the countdown is in a slower increment that is than what is stated. But during the course of this, she finds a little bit of resistance, but hey, things tend to go, things happen around Jinx. They don't really play that part up, and I'm not sure in the comics they ever did as much as the show did. But nevertheless, it's a pretty good action oriented book, as the Silent Mission books tend to be, or the initial one and the one from last week tended to be. So if that is something of interest to you, you can check that out. Next up is Star Trek Lower Decks, because shout out to Matt Wayne 97. Star Trek Lower Decks number 6, written by Ryan North, art by Jack Lawrence, colors by Charlie Kirchhoff, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So this is a continuation of the previous issue where the Lower Deckers, who basically find out that the senior staff is on a secret mission, and they basically end up following them. And this is the continuation of how that panned out. The funny part is, if you watch the video version, you can see a famous ship that met with an untimely demise, and that's definitely where they start off at the beginning of this, and none of them the wiser. But like I said, it ends up getting into the rest of the book, which is dealing with time shenanigans in the Star Trek universe, and even references to previous time travel incursions from the past, which to humor's delight. And I'm just going to say this and let it go. James T. Rex. There you go. But also, there is something else that seemed like it's going to come back up in a later issue, but we shall see if that's actually going to happen. Next up, Aquaman number 4, written by Jeremy Adams, art by John Timms, colors by Rex Locus, and colors by Rex Locus. If I didn't say that, I might have said letters, but letters by Dave Sharp. So, what starts off as a dream sequence ends up with Arthur trying to find out why this other person from the DC universe, Lori Lamaris, I think that's her name, is basically helping the bad guy, to which we still don't know why, but all we keep hearing from her is, I have no choice.
Right, she's a mermaid.
Yes, this is correct. But we also, on another part of it, the Arthur's newfound allies are trying to find him, but doesn't seem like he needs help getting away from his captors, so we'll say that much. And like I said, we also find out a little bit, well, we don't necessarily find out why this character named, I keep wanting to call him Dagon, but it is Dagon, so who apparently is also an established DC character, wants Arthur in this other, I think they're in a parallel universe or something. I'm not entirely sure. All I know is Arthur went through what looked to be a dark side coded portal and ended up where he was. And there's also another lettered portal that gets entered into. And of course, it's the DC universe, so there is some color coded, mystical entity elements, the blue, that also is a part of all of this. So, all of that is in here. But Arthur tries, because his powers has been switched with Mera. He's trying to get a little bit better at airbending, and he also has a new weapon that he gets to try out for the first time, which actually kind of looks kind of cool, amusingly enough, near the end of this. So, still continue to be an interesting sort of story outside of the DC mumbo jumbo. Next book, speaking of DC, Fire and Ice, When Hell Freezes Over, number 1. Script by Joanne Starrer, art by Stephen Byrne, letters by Ariana Maher. So Fire and Ice, two characters. If you don't know what their power sets are, based on their names, I don't know what to tell you. But there is a twist, because due to absolute power, their powers have been switched with each other. So Ice has fire powers, fire has ice's powers, and they're trying to get a handle of that. They're back in Kansas with Superman's mom in a new place that ended up being established from their last miniseries. And the same group of people who showed up there showing up in here. But as things tend to happen, Fire, being the more impetuous ones, kind of wants her original power set back. So it seems like she set up something to make that happen. That involves Zatanna and a girl's night and a monkey's paw. And the words Freaky Friday should tell you everything you need to know about what is happening here at this point. And next and last book for myself is Doctor Strange of Asgard, number 2 of 5, written by Derek Landy, art by Carlos Magno, color artist Espen Grendigen, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. Now, I know Agent 70 has not read this just yet, and I'm assuming you're still planning to at some point.
Sure.
Yeah. So I won't give too much away anyway, so it doesn't matter. But basically, based on what happened at the end of the first issue, Stephen tries to figure out why Loki did what he did.
Right. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, exactly. And also seeks help. Sometimes you got to hide a body, but I don't think that's going to go well for them for reasons that you'll see. Well, you won't see in the book, but if you see what happens at a certain point in the issue, you'll understand what I mean. And I'm just going to put this out here. Sometimes it's the first people you meet. That's mystery writing number 101. But I don't know if that is also the case. So yeah, while Stephen's trying to figure this out, he still also is trying to gather up, Asgardian magic. But in this reason, he's trying to do it not necessarily for the original reason why he's trying to do it, even though that is still in play. He's doing it because because he needs it to help solve this mystery, and also weirdly helping out somebody who, realistically probably should fess up to things. But we'll see. And apparently we find out that Doc Strange still got hands. I'll say that much. That's not really giving anything away. So it's a conversation, folks. It's a conversation. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So I'm just going to put this out here. And I forgot, I don't think I put it in here. Or maybe I did. But I already know one of Agent 70's potentials of the week, and I'm just gonna put it out here. I don't know what I did with it, so maybe this whole joke is gonna fire back at me. Nope, here we go. ROM Epic Collection, ROM Space Knight Epic Collection number 1.
Right. It's issues number 1 through 20 of the series. It's pretty cool that's out here. It's out here this week.
Yes. So that is not necessarily an inside joke between us, but let's face it, Agent 70 is a big Wild Space Knight fan, so every chance I get to
I can't wait for that Marvel Legends to get here. It's going to be here towards the end of the month, but in the middle of the week, middle of the month, end of the month, right?
Right.
Can't wait for that Marvel Legends to get here, man.
But that being said, what actually are your potentials?
So in terms of my potentials, I kind of named a few. I had a couple I was on the fence for a few.
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to name too many. I can definitely say that Absolute Batman #7 is definitely one. I think, believe it or not, Transformers #19 is a candidate for Click of the Week.
See that
for me,
Yeah.
because I definitely appreciated the highlighting of the Sharkticons.
Right.
I actually liked Amazing Spider-Man #1. I think Pepe Larraz is an inspired choice for main artist on Amazing Spider-Man right now. I mean, we definitely know he has the chops, and he was doing X-Men stuff with the during the Krakoa era. So we know that he's definitely got that, he's definitely got that stuff. He's ready to do, primetime books, right? Daredevil #20 gave me the heebie-jeebies. And that's just really strong work. Really, really strong work. And those are pretty much my candidates. Those basically, those 4 books that we basically led with. So those are my candidates. How about you?
Transformers 19 is a definite. Actually, I don't have that many this week. There were parts of Amazing I did like, so that's probably one of them. I did like the G.I. Joe Jinx book. But there's only going to be 2 or 3 more of these. I believe the next one might be Duke, if I'm not mistaken. Because there's this whole and the reprint that's coming, but I don't think we're going to talk about the reprint because it's a book that doesn't really need it.
Right. And shout out to Ultimates, because
Yes.
I really liked Dennis Camp and the whole whether or not it's a ballad, whether or not it's just verse. It's definitely not iambic pentameter, because I had to remind myself how iambic pentameter is supposed to be structured.
Right.
But that was I like that. That was I thought that was well done.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry. No, I was about to say, despite what I said earlier, yeah, that is. I mean, Ultimates is continuously still a good book. It's just that this book kind of threw me for a loop because of lettering issues. Well, my eyesight issues personally, and
the structure. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But you were saying?
I think I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Absolute Batman #7 over Daredevil #20, but it's really close.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really close. That Daredevil #20, I think about it, I'm getting heebie-jeebies right now.
You'll have to tell me after the show what exactly gave you these heebies and the GBs. Because you've said that multiple times already.
Yeah.
Wait, where did I?
I mean, once you flip through the book, you'll see what I mean. Like, ooh.
Oh, it is direct to visual. I got you.
Yeah.
For some strange reason. Oh, I didn't put Absolute Batman in the lineup. That's why. That would make a whole lot of sense as to why it's not where it's supposed to be. All right, so Agent 70 is Absolute Batman. You see it on the screen if you're watching the video version, and you should sometimes, because hey. And for myself, I think. The only if there is a flaw that I can think of for Transformers 19 is being reminded of that that Megatron is now a triple changer, and that other alternate form is one that I do not want. But ultimately, I think that's pretty much going to be it. That's probably wouldn't be as not that big of a surprise to if you've watched or listened to the show that much. But Transformers has been a great book this whole time. It's like I don't think there's been too many flat issues during this whole run.
Sure.
So I don't feel too bad about saying that it is indeed a Click of the Week. especially with whatever. And probably if I had read Storm or something else, or one of the other Xbox or whatever this week, which granted was a short week this week, I might have thought slightly differently, or I would have added another one. But yeah, that's what we're going with, folks. Transformers number 19 is my click. And that therein lies those clicks of the week. And we're going to get into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Have you ever tried an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news as we do about this time, and shout out to audio filters, folks. First up, the Marvel's director Nia DaCosta says Captain Marvel sequel was not the movie she pitched or shot, apparently. So yeah, she says here that this article says that she should finally reflected on her MCU experience, talking at Dublin's second annual Screenwriters Festival. She started by saying a Marvel movie was her dream project because she was a big comic book nerd growing up. However, it didn't take long for the reality of working in the MCU to set in for the Candyman director, which I hear a lot of people love that movie. The remake, not the original, because she's a little long for that one. Anyway, explaining that she stepped into a system, quote unquote, and had to lean into the process, DaCosta added. They had a date and they were prepping certain things, and you just had to lean into the process hardcore. The way they make those films is very different to the way ideally I would make a film, so you just have to lean into the process and hope for the best. The best didn't happen this time, but you kind of have to. She says trust in the machine, but you can hear trust the process. And I'll just leave that there. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, hopefully she gets another shot, or maybe we'll get to see the version that she wanted out there at some point. Who knows? Next up.
Alrighty, so apparently the husband of Carrie Coon, the actor and playwright Tracy Letts, said on the Big Picture podcast via People that money was the reason that the actress Carrie Coon dropped Marvel. So Tracy Letts said he believes Marvel went to her for the second one, that being Endgame, because she was in Infinity War. And they asked her to be in the second one, and she said, well, the first one is the most successful movie ever made. Are you going to pay me any more money? And they said, no, we're not going to pay you any more money. So, yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, she played the voice of Proxima Midnight. She didn't even do... I mean, I think she did some of the facial features and the facial acting, but we didn't really miss Proxima Midnight in Endgame.
Right. Which I'm sitting there, when I read this article, I was like, wait, was she actually even in that one at any time? But I don't know. It's all a blur at this point, because there was a lot of
right.
people.
She does get run over by one of those big unicycle wheel things, or that was ripping up the land in Wakanda. So
Well, you remember more than I do, unless you've seen it more recently. But hey, okay. Halle Berry on returning to reprise Storm role in Avengers Doomsday. Quote, "It's not going to be there." So this is according to Deadline. And also notably from this article that Halle Berry was notably missing from the cast announcement of the upcoming Marvel films. We already talked about that last week about, it doesn't mean that much. Something means, but not that much. Anyway, that some of her X-Men co-stars that are coming back to. It says that this article says that although the studio has hinted that more actors will be confirmed for the film, don't expect Barry's name to appear on one of the chairs, as she has completely shut down that idea. That doesn't still continue. Oh, nice. Sorry. Keep waiting. It's not going to be there, Barry told Black Girl Nerds. Shout out to Black Girl Nerds. About her name being on a chair. It's not going to be there. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean she's not going to be in the movie, or maybe she might not be in that movie. Maybe she'll be in the next one. So, or Marvel Snipers. Just let us forget. That is our looming presence. So,
right.
And that is just me talking. That is just, I'm not speaking for her. Just saying. Like, just because she says it's what she says, she knows what she knows what she's talking about with her thing. But just saying, just consider other things. That's all I'm saying. Dude, I don't know if we said this last week, but rest in peace, Val Kilmer. But yeah, next up.
So apparently, Simu Liu went on the Jennifer Hudson show. Is that what
that's
right here?
No, that's correct. You're right. That is it.
Right. So apparently what he says is that with regards to being part of Avengers Doomsday, he knew he was going to be involved in Doomsday to some capacity, but he didn't know who else they were announcing. He told Jennifer Hudson, "They don't tell us anything. Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo ruined it for all of us. Now they don't tell us."
Going back to the Marvel Snipers.
Exactly.
Also, this is a C-Bar. I don't. Sometimes we've been getting into clickbaity titles for their articles, and this seemed to be one of them. So therein lies that. But hey, guess what? You can check out the interview which is attached to the article. And yes, you did hear the name Jennifer Hudson, because she's she had a show for a couple of years now at this point. So, in news. Next up, Channing Tatum addresses Avengers Doomsday. Yes, I know there's a lot of this, folks. Indicates that he may not be playing Gambit, according to this article. Now, we know that his name was on one of the chairs. Ooh,
he's about to not make a name for himself.
Indeed. We know that his name was on one of the chairs in the casting lineup. And of course, that immediately put people's mind to saying he's playing Gambit, and of course people had thoughts about that one way or the other. But according to this article, he was doing an interview with Extra, and his response might just suggest that there could be something to the theory that he may not be playing Gambit. The quote is, "Personally, all I was guaranteed was a chair. They said that I have a chair and I can at least watch the movie from the chair. It was just my name. It wasn't exactly Gambit. So I work in a world of of binary yes and no's, and I've only been guaranteed so far a chair to watch the movie in. So that's where I am at." I'm assuming he said as a joke. I don't know, but he's an actor of a certain bar, so you never really, anyway, you take that for what you will. Anyway, next up.
About to make a name for myself here. All right. All right, let's see here. Oh, Captain America Brave New World digital streaming release date has been announced. So let's see here. It'll be available to buy on digital retailers, including Amazon's Prime Video, Apple TV, and Fandango at home, starting Tuesday, April 15th. Wow, that's soon.
Right?
The home release is priced at $29.99 and comes with hours of bonus materials. Okay.
Yeah, which, standard stuff, deleted scenes, gag reel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Has it already been a month and change?
It kind of, yeah. Today's the 10th, and that movie came out on the 14th of February. So
Oh, wow.
almost a month. Yeah, time is flying. Yeah, it's kind of weird to be so soon, but at the same time, I don't know. It's from
February 14th. That makes it 2 months.
2 months. Yes, excuse me, I forgot. It is April. But still.
Yeah. I mean, listen, times are changing when it comes to release dates for this stuff,
and have been for quite some time. But
right?
this is still kind of soon for such a quote unquote big movie. But also, some would say that when a movie doesn't do as expected, sometimes they'll throw it out there early. So, could that be the case? Maybe, or maybe not. We don't know. But regardless, hey, there you go. And that's still not saying anything about a physical release, which is usually what 6 months later or something like that. Or usually it's like 4 months, 4 to 6 months either way. Like, and it's a couple of weeks after the digital releases, if I remember correctly. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a physical release this shortly afterwards. So. And I would like to believe they would have said so in this, or been able to say so. Actually, no, it does say so. Yeah, Captain America: Brave New World will come out to 4K Blu-ray and DVD on May 13th, alongside the 4-movie collection on Blu-ray and DVD. Meaning, I assume that meaning Captain America collection.
Right, the 3 previous movies.
Right.
Yep.
So there you go, folks. Next up. Why Ryan Coogler says Chadwick Boseman, quote, freaked out Disney execs while filming Black Panther. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan have been making rounds recently because of their movie Sinners. One quote out of his, like, out of all of my actors, Chad's death actually hit Michael B. Jordan the hardest. Chad was older than us. He was quite a bit older than us, even though he looked like he was the same age. Black don't crack. He was a fully baked man from the South. He was an old school man's man, and compared to that dude, we worked together, bro. Me and Mike was kids. That was a quote from Ryan Coogler. But Coogler recalled on how the late actor immersed himself into his character throughout the filming of Black Panther, even continuing T'Challa's accent until the film wrapped production. Quote, he was talking in an African accent. Disney execs came to see us on Panther. It was like week 2, and they pulled up, and it was the T'Challa accent, and they were freaked out. I was like, don't be freaked out. He's working, man. He don't turn it off until we wrap. That's, some would call that method acting. Which is actually not the I guess it might be the first time he's put on an accent for a movie, because there was another movie that he put out shortly thereafter that I can't remember the name of, that he also had a African accent in, and I think he was also playing maybe a king or a prince or something, or whatever the case may be. But either way, so yeah, therein lies that. And Coogler also mentions that if Chadwick Boseman was still alive, he would have also, been in Sinners with the movie that he and Michael B. Jordan are doing now. So, next up.
No surprise, Fantastic Four, according to director Matt Shakman, is in its own universe with no Easter eggs related to the MCU. There's no running into Iron Man or whatever. And we understand that because there are rumors that this is either an alternate universe or definitely a different timeline. So we'll see how this goes. This arrives in theaters this July 25th.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely an Easter egg in it if that thing from the trailer continues to be in it, but it has to do with specifically a character that is playing one of the main characters from kind of with one of his other roles, basically. So yeah, sure. Speaking of, the Fantastic Four First Steps is a 60s space race movie shot, quote, the way Kubrick would have made it, according to this article. So, let's see. Matt Shackman, the director, says that it is looking to evoke the optimistic spirit of the 50s and 60s. And the quote that I just mentioned in the title is what he also said, which goes on to say that it's about JFK and optimism. It's imagining these four going into space instead of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. This idea is that they are the most famous people in America because they're adventurers, explorers, astronauts, not because they're superheroes. And they come back and they're superheroes on top of it, but primarily they're astronauts, their family, end quote. So we'll just see if that works out the way he's saying it does when the movie comes out. Next up.
So we talked about CinemaCon, right? So last week we recorded and broadcast just as the Marvel panel was going live, or just before the Marvel Disney stuff was about to go on at CinemaCon. So we've gotten some stories about what was shown at CinemaCon. One of them being Julia Garner's debut as her version of Silver Surfer in footage from the Fantastic Four. Now, I'm not going to spoil everything else that they talk about here, but it's described as, there's a couple things described that are very spoilery, and obviously Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer is one of them, but there's some plot points that are revealed that I may not get into right now.
Right. I thought there was a picture of her, not necessarily in costume, but I thought there was a picture of her in this article, but I don't see it. So, oh well. Next up, though, the Kickstarter campaign for Stan Lee, The Final Chapter, has been closed. So apparently there was a $300,000 Kickstarter campaign for a movie, but it's been canceled. The film is taken from video that director Jonathan Bolerjack shot during Lee's last years as a convention guest, and promised to show, quote, the dark side of those surrounding him. The campaign had raised over $84,000, but had given rise to intense controversy, with many questioning the amount of the campaign, the reward tiers, Bolerjack's own role in what many feel was elder abuse in Stan's final days. According to this article, the film is still going to be completed and seen. However, Bolerjack wrote, quote, the project has received an overwhelming amount of press, social media, and global attention. This is actually the first we've heard of it, or I've heard of it. I don't know if Agent 70 had, and due to some recent developments, we are ending the Kickstarter, and we will be moving forward with the film's production through generous outside support. We'll be going back into production in the coming weeks, and our plan is to wrap things up as soon as possible. We'll be posting periodic updates via social media as we progress. So that is the thing. Next up.
Alrighty, two favorite Star Wars bounty hunters are back for Tales of the Underworld. So Lady Asajj Ventress and her yellow lightsaber are back alongside the infamous quick draw Cad Bane in a new anthology of animated shorts. Lucasfilm and Disney Plus announced Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, the third installment in the Tales anthology series following Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire, revisiting beloved characters to explore previously untold yet pivotal stories. So streaming on Disney Plus this Star Wars Day, May the 4th, Tales of the Underworld is a 6-episode journey following two notorious bounty hunters, former dark-side assassin Asajj Ventress, as she's given a new chance at life and must go on the run with an unexpected new ally, and outlaw Cad Bane as he faces his past when he confronts an old friend, now a marshal on the other side of the law. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to put this in last week's show notes because I was kind of excited about this, but hey, you know what? It's still early enough to say yay. Also, hey, will Obi-Wan show up and be like, hello there?
Yeah.
Probably not. But hey, I like Asajj, so it's all good. Next up, though, Speaking of Star Wars, the British Film Institute to publicly screen Star Wars original cut for the first time in decades. So this is the unedited 1977 theatrical cut of Star Wars: A New Hope, which will headline the BFI's Film on Film Festival this summer. Hopefully, possibly this will lead to a theatrical cut physical release, but I doubt it. But boy, wouldn't that be nice? So hey, if you're in the UK and can get tickets to this thing on June 12th, which tickets go on sale May 6th, hey, report back, I guess. I don't know. Next up,
Peacemaker Season 2 has an official Max premiere date. So DC Studios head honcho James Gunn took to X to reveal the official release date for Peacemaker Season 2. That is August 21st. Look at that. We live in a world that has now 2 seasons of Peacemaker. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm about to wait. Somebody's birthday that day is not mine though. Anyway, yeah, that's the thing now. Here we are.
It's crazy. Like, you know, it's so hard to believe that we've got 3 Ant-Man movies, but we've gotten 2 seasons of Peacemaker. Wow.
Right, or will be, right. Because when we first, I think we were probably in the doubtful camp of that first season. Well, until we saw that first season, I should say, and which actually turned out to be entertaining.
Right.
If not actually good. Anyway, Looney Tunes shows get a new streaming home, and it's free. Hey, guess what, folks? You know where this is going. Max took off all the Looney Tunes from Max, or excuse me, Zaslav, that bastard took all of told somebody to take all of the Looney Tunes, and I hope they're keeping the tapes, out of Max. But you can find a whole bunch of them as of April 1st, so it's out there now on Tubi. So let's see. Tubi is going to have all 5 seasons of the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries and both seasons of the Looney Tunes show. So that's not really. That's not really taking anything. That's not saying anything about the whole vast library of X amount of whole decades. That's just 2 more recent shows. So, but if you're young and you like those shows, I guess that's great. But I would like the old classic cartoons. That's all I'm saying. Next up.
Alrighty, so Star Trek Lower Decks Steelbook Series box set is available again on Amazon. Apparently it's sold out quick. But yeah, good luck to you guys who want to try to pre-order it.
I can say with some authority that the standard edition, which is also on sale, you can definitely find that.
There you go.
So yeah, it's only the Steelbook that was out of order, and I was like, I don't need that. Just give me the things. So I got the things, or getting the things at some point, or soon. Anyway. Mission Impossible 8 trailers. I guess this is the last trailer. Tom Cruise jumps from a fighter jet and dangles from an upside down plane in Final Reckoning. You know, that wild and crazy boy, Tom Cruise. But yeah, May 23rd. That's when it's gonna come. Debating about going on movie protocol for. Well, I guess unless Agent 70 goes to see it, there might not be a call for it. But
I was about to say, like, if I get the call that we're going, that we're heading to the theater for May 23rd, then, or May 22nd, then yeah.
Right. I actually need to see the last one because I still have not. But regardless, as this article says, this could be the last we see of Cruise as Ethan Hunt, IMF agent Ethan Hunt, as the Final Reckoning teases a dramatic ending to the Mission Impossible series after 8 movies. It's been a wild ride, folks. Likened to that of Fast and Furious. That's why we bring it up here. Next up, though.
Speaking of a movie I'm probably going to be in the theaters to see ballerina star Ana de Armas calls for more original female action films and says Bond should let James be James. So that's pretty much her take on it, which is there should be more original movies with characters, featuring women rather than gender swapping legacy characters like James Bond.
Right. And to be fair, there are some out there. They just don't really get a big enough push or shine out there. Like sometimes you'll just see them straight to Netflix or something, or some streaming service. So, like you said, that's her take. And apparently, this was prompted by some discourse by Helen Mirren. So, which I don't think it says. Oh yeah, the Dame and screen legend recently told the UK's Guardian that, quote, she never liked the way women were in James Bond, and that the concept around the $1 billion spy franchise is, quote, drenched and born out of profound sexism. Which, I mean, she ain't wrong.
Right.
So, Anywho's, next up, though, Power Rangers writer says casting Black and Asian actors as the Black and Yellow Ranger was such a mistake. Which we've been saying that for like decades at this point, I think, or people have been saying that as decades. But let's see. This comes from, apparently there is, let's see, the head writer or former head writer Tony Oliver speaking on Dark Side of the Power Rangers, the latest episode of Investigations Discovery's new docu-series Hollywood Demons. Oh Lord. That he says that the series was able to get all the way to air and run for 2 seasons with, quote, the Black character, the Black Ranger, and the Asian character for the Yellow Ranger. Oliver says it took my assistant who pointed it out in a meeting one day to realize the glaring stereotype-driven casting at the heart of the show. It was such a mistake, he reflected. The fact that it took that to see that, like, people just watched the show and saw that. And how the heck it takes that to catch that? But then again, people don't always think. People are in a certain mind state. So, but anyway, there it is that. And I'm going to go ahead and actually take this next one.
Oh, please, thank you. Because I never watched this show out of protest. I was like, yo, that just looks like it sucks. And
no, Power Rangers was good. Yes, that
you can
aside from the
advocate
casting,
for it.
but-
Yeah, you're welcome to advocate for it. That's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, also it was a
my
kids show, so
personal-
you got to take it for
There's
what
my
it
own
is.
personal feeling
Yeah.
where, I definitely got my, I had my own feelings on the casting. Obviously I was in a slightly different point in my life and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. And two, now that I know more about like who brought, like who's behind bringing these shows over and some of their attitudes.
Right.
Yeah, they can go jump in a lake.
Well, yeah.
That's just-
and, I mean, no,
that's-
that's real. That's real. I'm just happy that we have access to the original products and that people have been able to jump from Power Rangers to the original stuff and continue to have an appreciation for that, that type of show. So that if there's a good thing that came out of it, there is that. However, Power Ranger Stuntman recalls the return. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her name, so I apologize. Bold speech to network execs that led to her firing. She regretted it instantly. That is the title of this article. This is also coming from that same documentaries thing. So apparently when the actors' contracts were up for renewal while filming the second season, Trang took the stage at a presentation for the series' network affiliates and delivered an incendiary speech to make their case for more money, which, to their right. The owners of the station all came. Stunt coordinator Jeff Pruitt remembered on Dark Side of the Power Rangers from that docuseries. Then we went to the microphone and started reading the speech, how rotten Fox was for not paying them more money and how they all deserved more money. The station owners were just looking like, what is this? And I had heard over the years of the rumblings of this happening. I'm like, yeah, they absolutely deserve more money and treatment for this, you know, for all that they had to do, despite even, you know, some of the stuff they didn't have to do, I guess. But anyway, Pruitt recalled that when it was all over, she walked backstage and she just ran to me and grabbed me and started crying and said, "What did I do? Oh God, what did I do?" She regretted it instantly, but it was kind of too late, and which ended up leading to, I think, her and I think a couple of the others, well, her being fired and I think a couple of others leaving the show, and yeah, a whole other. So yeah, despite being the faces of the show, Trang, St. John Jones, and their co-stars Amy Jo Johnson, David Yost, and Jason David Frank saw virtually none of the money from the show. One of the things Saban said was, "Look, I'm giving them the chance to become stars. You see where this is going." But from the actor's point of view, it was, well, now that the show is taking off, and I'm still not making any money, Pruitt said, and which would led Saban to started being mercenary and just getting rid of folks after, you know, after using them up. So none of this is excusing the behind the scenes stuff. I'm just wanting to say that right then and there, but you know, just saying some of the stuff has been out here for years. Now we go over into the comic book news, because we have no anime and manga news, or at least none really worth mentioning.
Sorry, just 1 second.
Yeah, I know you checked out. Actually, I'm going to add a piece of news real quick because there's something you probably already know
puts
about.
10% anti-tariff on young adult and this is MG graphic novels.
Mm-hmm.
What are MG graphic novels?
I was going to say mature, but that can't be right. I'm not entirely sure, actually. And I don't know if it says here or not.
Middle grade.
Middle grade. Okay, there we go. That makes sense.
Right. Okay. Right, so to help retailers promote these books, DC Comics is offering a 10% backlist sale on dozens of young adult and middle grade graphic novels. Okay, so it's a discount. Okay.
Yeah. Given everything that's going on, that's surprisingly nice of them to do.
Yeah, something to get something to get these books ordered.
Mm-hmm. Cool beans. Next up, though, pardon me, folks, if you're watching the video version, you don't see what you're seeing. That's all I'm gonna say. Al Ewing to replace Tom Taylor on Detective Comics Annual 2025. Tom Taylor announced the change on Blue Sky, praising Ewing and the new art team. Apparently, Al Ewing teases a thrilling Batman murder mystery set in England with a cryptic message, and that it's going to be released on April 30th, featuring a tale from Joshua Hale Fielkoff and Mike Norton. Actually, here's Tom Taylor's quote. "Unfortunately, I had to step aside from the upcoming Detective Comics Annual, but the great Al Ewing stepped in to write an awesome story with Stefano Raffaele, John McCree, and Fico Ossio on art. And, of course, the backup story by the creative team that I just mentioned. Al Ewing wrote on Blue Sky, "I get to write Batman coming to my town to solve a bizarre murder mystery. It's been a lot of fun taking my first swing at the world's greatest detective, so hopefully you'll all join us to puzzle out why a murder victim would scrawl, 'Batman, do not solve my murder,' in their own blood," in Al Ewing's amusing style there. So this would almost make me want to read that book. Almost. But we'll see. Next up.
DC Comics' Justice League Unlimited series is set to become truly unlimited this summer, just like the JLU animated series, says writer Mark Waid. In speaking with, Pop Versus writer about the upcoming We Are Yesterday crossover event between Justice League Unlimited and DC's Batman Superman World's Finest comic book series, Waid talks about the paradoxes of time travel and drops a nugget that has gotten about the story. There's a point about the end of Act 2 where, because of this thing, the Justice League truly becomes unlimited for the first time, truly unlimited. So yeah, makes a joke about how in June 25th event finale issue, Justice League Unlimited number 8, Dan Mora, the series co-creator, finishes off the story with the last chapter drawing 800 characters a page. That's kind of crazy. Okay.
You know, I love Dan Mora. I believe he could do it, but yeah, that's kind of wild. So, and speaking of, so there was an interview with Mark Waid on the Where We Are just yesterday event, which apparently kicks off next week, April 16th. DC fans will find themselves pulled into the first major event under the publisher's ambitious DC All-In initiative. And right at the center of it all is Mike Waid, writer of the Justice League Unlimited, of course, and Batman Superman World's Finest. This, and I'm not even going to read that because that's funny. Calm down. But apparently, the writer of this article caught up with Waid for an interview about We Are Yesterday, which is a story that stretches across time, title, and tone. And you can read what it's about and everything. But given recent events in Justice League Unlimited, which I have now caught up on, I can see where things could get a ways place. We Are Yesterday also could stand for the fact that, man, so a lot of this feels like it's coming from the Super Rents comic book. Cartoon from back in the day. It's probably not intentional, but nevertheless. Next up,
goodness gracious, concert. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Concert of Champions #1 featured. This is hyperbole. This is also bleeding cool. Featured a big surprise Marvel debut. And, the article basically shows you which panels that you should be looking at. And the information they got is that these new characters are going to be in Free Comic Book Day books. And they're basically Wolverpool and Dead Vereen. Goodness gracious.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah, if you're watching the video version, you can see the panel there over there in the corner. I saw those and I was just thinking, and that's probably due to the art, thinking it was just Wolverine and somebody else in the crowd. So, sure. Next up, though, Marvel editor gives grim follow-up after Weapon X-Men book gets canceled. So this is another chronicle of the Brevoort tales from his Substack. So let's see. Brevoort responded to the news that writer Joe Casey and artist Chris Cross's Weapon X-Men, originally intended as an ongoing series, will be coming to a close with the release of its 5th issue. When asked if the series simply needed more time to find its footing before being canceled, Brevoort explained that the notion is, quote, one of those ideas that gets thrown around whenever a particular project reaches its end. So, also, quote, the flame fact of the matter is that in my experience, I can't think of any instance where a failing title suddenly experiences a turnaround and becomes a solid seller. So the fact of the matter is that the best chance you have to capture enough of an audience is with issue #1 at the launch. And if you don't, it's unlikely that you're going to suddenly be able to turn things around later. So I'd have liked it if Weapon X-Men had been able to go longer, but I'm also confident that if the numbers are weak now, they won't be any less weak at issue 8 or 12 or whatever. So that is his opinion. Man's been at this a while, so he's going to have those opinions.
Right, he's got some evidence-based reasoning behind this too. That's the thing.
Right. So, and it's not like what he just said has not been things people have, other people in a similar position has said, in the past. So, or some of it anyway. Next up.
Take this next one, please.
Okay, Marvel announces X-Men Days of Future Past prequel. So Chris Claremont is back, folks. Let's see. A writer, Chris Claremont. Yeah, this goes back into Claremont's writing history. Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
Marvel has returned to Days of Future Past multiple times. This is true over the years, and are about to again with Chris Claremont Prelude to Future Past, which releases in July 2025. The book celebrates Claremont's 50 years plus as a writer at Marvel, and the publisher has decided to spice the whole thing up by adding in a rare Claremont story that has once only been available in an out-of-print hardcover called Marvel Made Paragon Collection Chris Claremont. Quote, revisit the nightmarish world of tomorrow that is Days of Future Past in a revelatory prelude by the legendary scribe and illustrated by his extreme X-Men collaborator Salvador Larroca. Discover at last how the surviving X-Men saved one of their own, Richard Summers, from her torment as a hound, and find out which surprising faces had a vital part to play in the mutant resistance. And it goes on from there because this is press release. But so yeah, once again, we're hitting up Days of Future Past. And again, July 2nd, 2025 is when that issue is going to come on sale. Bless you. You want me to take this next one?
Yeah, please.
Marvel finally puts a number on. Actually, yeah, I probably should take this one anyway. I was going to. Marvel finally puts a number on Spider-Man's maximum strength. Again, when we talked about Amazing Spider-Man earlier. This is a Screen Rant article, so it is a little hyperbole. Because they don't necessarily put a number on it. I'm just going to put that out there. But I wanted to bring it up is that they did mention it. And I also, like I said, there's this little thing called the Ohat Mu that, while dated, still has some pertinent facts about his max strength. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this next one with Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. The Sinister Six expands with X-Men and Daredevil villains. So they talk about Amazing Spider-Man Annual Number 1, which assembles the Sinister Six in the first place, but is a concept that J. Michael Straczynski is going to run with in Spider-Man vs. the Sinister 16, which is a new one-shot comic set to bring together some of Marvel's most popular heroes and villains, including Spidey villains Doc Ock, Kingpin, Venom, and X-Men foes like Magneto and Mystique. So I think this is one of those one-shot joints that Straczynski's been doing for the last month or so. Yes, it says the book marks the grand finale to Straczynski's series of unlikely pairing one-shots, standalone stories that have paired off everyone from Peter Parker's Aunt May and the witch Agatha Harkness, I must have missed that one, to Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon. So, one clue, according to this article, one clue this particular tale isn't in continuity. Peter and Mary Jane Watson are on a romantic night out. It's kind of fucked up. But anyway, there's an official description here. There's some lettering that definitely looks like Noto. Yep, checked. Who's doing the interiors. And this, let's see. Apparently there's going to be some Inhumans, Doctor Strange and Clea, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, and Squirrel Girl and Tippy Toe. All are going to show up for this. And it's going to hit the stands on July the 30th. Which is the 6th and final one shot of this thing. Next up.
So we find out that Immortal Thor concludes with issue number 25, marking Thor's death under Al Ewing's storytelling brilliance. A new Thor series will launch later this year, continuing with celebrated writer Al Ewing at the helm. The final issue sees Thor facing a formidable enemy, the Serpent, in an epic battle for justice. And, this is not a big surprise. This was just dropped today, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big surprise at all.
But Thor versus a serpent? That never happened before. Let me stop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so these books will be, this is Immortal Thor number 25 is on sale in July. Does it have an actual date? July 2nd.
Yeah, which I believe July Salutations must be out because there's a lot of this is coming from that stuff. So I'll say if I'll put them in the show notes. Wes Craig drops Duke into dangerous territory in the preview for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Duke #1. This is one of those silent mission one-shots that we have been talking about. This particular one is going to come out. Okay. Just April 30th. So I think that's going to be the last one of these. Let's see. And of course, like I said, yeah, and it's going to be, well, yeah, and they're also good, like we said earlier, they're going to reprint G.I. Joe Real American Hero number 21 from Marvel at the end of this as well. Next up, I will go ahead and take this one. And in fact, I'm going to take these both too. So, hey, guess what, folks? I forgot to put this in last week also because just like G.I. Joe before it, the Transformers now have a Kickstarter for a compendium set up by Skybound, of course. And in the news that we have right after that, guess what? It made it day one. It was funded day one, folks. So, see, Skybound's Transformers Kickstarter smashes day one record, with $1.8 million in pledges. And set to top G.I. Joe. See, legendary Transformer creators joined Kickstarter, ensuring them paid roles as a part of the thing. You can, if you go to the Kickstarter page, which I have up, if you're watching the video version, you can kind of see the stretch goals they got lined up there. You can also see that it's 26 days to go and 5,000, almost 5,193 backers, and it is at this point $2 million. So, needless to say, this thing's gonna make it. And just like the G.I. Joe compendiums, there's there's a similar Autobot, good guy, bad guy version. So there's the Autobot version and there's the Decepticon version. So, or you can get both if you want to go that route. That's up to you. And of course, what other stretch goals that they happen to have, which will probably include digital versions of this stuff. So yeah, there you go, folks. Let's see, and I think they also said a couple of names that are also doing some stuff for the stretch goals or whatever the case may be. But you know what, you can read the Kickstarter for that. Next up.
So this is an announcement of premium statue produced by Premium Collectible Studios of a museum scale Unicron. And I'm looking for release date and price. But yeah, this is a pretty big Unicron who's actually sitting. It's a big statue. Let's see here. Pre-orders for the statue begin on April 10th at 12 p.m. So this is already going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That's when the price is revealed. So you have to log in to check the price out.
I thought I saw, and I thought it had something in here close to 5,000, but I could be wrong. But they also say in here that they have a Constructicon Combiner Devastator that's priced at 3,900. So that's not too far off, probably. So, I mean, it's a good looking figure, but holy hell. And it don't transform.
It's statue, though. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
So just take that for what that is. Like, granted, I'm sure somebody will do it.
You pre-order for $3,325.
Okay, so there we go. That's
I just have to click the link.
Gotcha. So yeah,
that's the early bird pre-order window pricing.
Right.
So I think the regular price is $3,500.
Right. Still a lot. you know, and still a statue. So anyway, Transformers revisits a dark timeline with elite new Decepticons revealed. So this is, I think, another statue for the Shattered Glass era Shockwave. Excuse me, Starscream. Excuse me, not Starscream. I'm still wrong. Soundwave. Which is the mirror universe version of Soundwave, and again another statue, not a transformer, actually transforming, because I actually have the transformer behind me somewhere. And there's also another statue with Prime holding up the Matrix leadership, as you can see that one right there. They have also announced. So yeah. Actually, I'm not seeing price on either one of these, but it's probably going to be pricey for statues. Next up.
One second. All right. So what are we up to?
Premium Collectibles.
Wait, the museum scale?
Yeah, Premium Collectibles Studio.
Just waiting for it to load, folks. All right, Premium Collectible Studio Museum Scale. Optimus Prime Deluxe and Jet Convoy Edition statues. We have official images and pre-order information here. You can so let's see here. It's priced at $2,400, almost $2,500. Just $2,499. So the Jet Convoy version includes a jetpack, which looks like it's formed by his trailer. This is a massive statue with, it's tall and wide, and now that's priced at $4,499. Yeah, that's some scratch, folks. Statues are expensive.
Yeah, this might have been what I was thinking about earlier also. And also he looks like a Gundam here, but that's also still a statue, so that's a lot of money. But looks, I mean, hey, it looks good, so there you go. Anyway, new Gundam Anime's upcoming high-grade Gunpla model kit gives Zaku 2 a military makeover, and this is from Mobile Suit Gundam G-Quacks, which just came out, and I haven't watched the first episode yet. But Bandai's 144 high-grade military police Zaku is a new Gunpla plastic model kit based on the mecha from the series that I just mentioned. It remixes the classic Mobile Suit Foot Soldier, and it comes complete with police lights on Zaku's shoulders, and it's expected to be released this month. It's an affordable high-grade model kit, so for those who are into Gunpla, have at it, but I'm pretty sure you're probably looking for master grade versions. So, and I know there has been a couple of other figures that have been announced, but that is not in this article. And I think there was in another article that I had that I didn't put in here. So, well, next up and lastly,
Masters of the Universe figures were announced this past week, and you can look for pre-orders, which are now live for Origins, Masterverse, and the latest crossover, Masters of the Universe and Thundercats. So you can go through this and you'll see lots of updated figures and crossover figures from New Eternia with the Thundercats, and it's actually pretty wild looking.
yes,
Pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through these fairly fast, so but you can look at this for yourself. There's the Battlecat figure. That's actually, hey, I ain't mad at it.
Right, like a classic Orko.
Mm-hmm. The Chitara, Lion-O, Skeletor, and Battle Armor. The usuals. So, but yeah, they look good. And like Agent 7 said, they're wild looking also. But yeah, it's not bad. But folks, oh wait, actually, yeah, there's you can look at the article for this because there's some other in here, the Grizzlor, Fangman, Whiplash, other names that you probably don't know. Apparently, there is Masterverse versions of She-Ra, Tila, Ninjor, Skeletor, Cobra Khan,
Right.
and a couple others here also that are announced. So, but
Right.
folks,
So there's like, you know, figures are, you know, also based on the cartoon, and then, you know, the new Eternia, you know, like kind of versions from the latest animated series.
right.
So yeah.
Oh, sorry. April 4th, this when pre-orders went on sale. So there you go. So those are already out there. If you're wanting these and wanting to get to them, you probably already saw this. If you didn't, or hopefully you can get what you're looking for.
Right.
Shout out to Von Gloom, who has joined us in the chat. Says interesting. Battlecat as a Thunderian is dope. Skeletor looks dope too. Might cop Battlecat. I was actually thinking about that, the copping the Battlecat. You said and the Trapjaw too. You might be on your own on that one, but hey, you know, check that out. But always good to see you, sir. Appreciate you. But we're about to wrap this up.
Joining.
Because I know Agent 70 is.
Yeah, we got a bit of show and tell. Yeah, I'm definitely starting to wear down. It's, you know, it's been a long night, in a little under the weather, so hopefully I can wrap up this show and tell real quick. Let me get this in before the last ad read.
Yep, go for it.
So my local comic shop, you know, it's cool. You know, I've been a patron of this local comic shop for 30 years, basically, but I've never actually been a regular customer until relatively recently. I always got my comics and pull lists at other shops, but, you know, becoming a regular has its perks, right? We all know this because we become known for what we collect and what we like and what we don't like. So I walk into the shop this past week. Unfortunately, because of Diamond shipping shenanigans, my Gotcha Man books are still not in, you know, are still not available. They still never came in. But apparently at a convention that the proprietor went to, I think it was MegaCon. I think he was in Orlando for MegaCon, right? He picked up what I immediately, you know, what he termed a bracelet, but I recognized it as a slap band. Now, if you remember that, then, you know, you're of a certain vintage. But if you watch the pit, you actually recognize that slap bands, you know, recently came into, you know, were referenced as part of emergency equipment for you know, for triage, right? So what I was handed was this coiled up bracelet, right? According to the proprietor, right? But unwound, this is labeled by Mad Cave. This is a slap band that resembles the Gotcha Man transmuting wristband / watch communicator, right? So you know, you just slap it on, and now you've got
So you got to say the words.
exactly transmute, right? Or what is it like? What is a bird? What is a bird one?
I believe it's Go Bird. Yeah, something like that.
Go Bird, right? Which is really cool. And it's funny that I took off my my watch to charge earlier, but yeah, it would be fun if someone made a watch case that looked like this.
Right. And a face. For
Yes. Well, that's the point.
Right.
That's the point. Like made a watch case, you know, like a watch band and a face to resemble this. That would be pretty cool.
I feel like the face got to be out there. The band probably not, but somebody's. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say something about Apple folks, but that wouldn't be nice.
But this is a really cool gift,
That's
right?
neat,
And I'm very
yeah.
thankful for it, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm glad to have gotten this. So I wanted to make sure I got this in before I, you know, wore out for the night. So
Slap bands. Who'da thunk?
exactly.
That's holy hell. Yes. That was a thing, kids. That was a whole thing. Also, well, we'll talk about that after the show because it's like, damn, the pit bringing that up, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it because I think the season finale was released the night that we started recording.
Right.
So it's episode 15. So yeah, it does come up in the last several episodes of the pit, which is very good, by the way.
I've heard. Because I saw the pit and I saw Noah Wiley. I was like, so it's just ER2, and I know that's not necessarily the case, but
it is, but it isn't. It's actually more realistic.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think I saw him talking on some talk show and about something. So that's interesting. So, all right, yeah. Can't do the librarian forever. But anyway, folks, we were gonna do one last ad read before we bounce out of here.
Yes, and you know it's late. We're trying to get up out of here. Help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. It helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, we're gonna get out of here so Agent 70 can get some rest before he turns into a sick pumpkin. We will be back next week for some more for the last episode of Daredevil, and of course more books. And is there? Andrew's not next week, is it? I don't think.
I'm not. We'd have to look that up.
Yeah. Well, either way. Also, hopefully you got your taxes done. If you hadn't, then man, hope you get them done before next week, before next Tuesday. All that kind of good jazz. But I've been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram, and also Roddykat on Blue Sky. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Skies, and Threads. You can also find the Comic Book Chronicles on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews because that helps people find our show, especially on Apple Podcast.
And of course, you could find us every Thursday night, mostly every Thursday night, with the exception of a couple of. I guess we can go ahead and say it. Thunderbolts tickets are out. I forgot to put that in the lineup, but whatever. Thunderbolts tickets are out there for sale. Agent 70 has his, and I have mine. So we will be going on Movie Protocol when Thunderbolts comes out. So stay tuned for that when that happens soonish. But of course, we'll be mentioning that closer to the time. So
Right. Beginning of May, so it's a few weeks away.
Right. But just a little heads up prior to. But yes, like I said, every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, we're here. YouTube.com/TheKliqNation and Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, all that kind of good jazz.
Guys, make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that subscription button so you know that whenever we are on live.
Indeed. We're out here, folks. Like I said, thanks for joining us, whether it's live or on audio, or you might be checking out the VOD later on, whichever how you chose to peruse us here. We appreciate you all. If you can help us get the Twitch numbers up, even though they're doing some things with their storage facilities, we only need 4 more to get to 50. But I'm still need to. Well, actually, no, we're good on that front because mostly everything goes to YouTube. So. The archives are going to be there, but hey, some other stuff we want to put up on YouTube. I mean, on Twitch. So help us out. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One. Wakanda forever!